We're about to dive into a historical mystery that's been debated for ages. It's a 200-year discrepancy at the heart of one of the most foundational stories ever told, the biblical Exodus. So let's get right into it. For historians and scholars who see this as a real historical event, the big question isn't if it happened, it's when. The problem is, the biblical account never actually names the pharaoh, which leaves this giant, pharaoh-sized hole in the historical puzzle. And this missing clue has led to two main theories, two main camps. First, you've got the early date theory. This one places the Exodus way back in the 1400s BC, during Egypt's super powerful 18th dynasty. Then there's the late date theory, which pushes everything forward about 200 years, into the 1200s BC and the 19th dynasty, the time of famous pharaohs like Ramses II. But before we start digging through all the archaeological evidence, let's just take a step back. Why does this story matter so much in the first place? I mean, the word Exodus literally means exit in Greek, but that dramatic departure from Egypt, that's really just the opening act. The whole book is really built on three massive ideas. First, you have the liberation, the famous escape from slavery. But then comes the covenant at Mount Sinai. This is where a ragtag group of refugees is basically forged into a nation. And finally, you get the building of the tabernacle, which was this physical, portable place for God to actually live among his people. So what's really crucial to get here is that this book is the bridge. It takes you from the family stories we see in Genesis to the creation of an actual nation. And not just any nation, a theocracy, where the idea was that God himself was the ultimate ruler. This single idea really sets the stage for everything else that happens in the Old Testament. All right, let's put on our detective hats. We're going to start with the case for the late date, the theory that the Exodus happened in the 1200s BC, and for a very long time, this was pretty much the consensus view. And honestly, the single biggest piece of evidence from the Bible itself comes from this one verse right here. It says the enslaved Israelites were forced to build cities for Pharaoh, and one of them was named Ramses. Now, that name Ramses is a huge clue. It points directly to the most famous pharaoh of the 19th dynasty, Ramses II, who was ruling right in that 1200s BC window. But there was another piece of evidence. Back in the mid-20th century, a famous archaeologist named Nelson Gluck did these massive surveys and concluded there were no powerful settled kingdoms like Edom out in the Transjordan region before 1300 BC. This seemed to fit perfectly with the biblical story where a strong Edomite kingdom refuses to let Israel pass, something that would only have been possible in the 1200s. So case closed, right? Well, not so fast. More recent discoveries have started to throw some major curveballs at that late date theory. And suddenly, the case for an earlier Exodus was wide open again. And this is what's so fascinating about history, isn't it? Arguments that seemed totally solid for decades can suddenly start to look a lot less certain when new data comes to light. Okay, so check this out. First, archaeologists working in the 1990s at that same site, Ramses, found evidence of major construction that dated all the way back to the 18th dynasty. We're talking the 1400s BC. This opened up the possibility that the Israelites built an earlier city there, and the name Ramses was just a later update in the biblical text to help readers know which place they were talking about. And second, newer surveys in that Transjordan area have found evidence of settled populations well before 1300 BC, which directly challenges Nelson Gluck's original conclusions. So, we're left with a historical puzzle. Conflicting clues, no easy answers, which might have you asking a much bigger question. If nailing down the exact history is this hard, are we even focusing on the right thing? What's the real point of these stories anyway? And this is where the whole conversation shifts. We move away from just historical facts and start talking about theological meaning. And scholars suggest there are really two different ways to approach a text like the Book of Exodus. So the first way you can read it is what's called illustrative. This is where you focus on the people, the heroes and the villains. You're trying to figure out, okay, what's the moral of the story here? Who should I be like? But then there's a totally different approach called theodrama. This way of reading sees every single story as just one scene in God's huge unfolding play. The main question isn't what are the humans doing, it's what is God doing here? To really see how different these two approaches are, let's take a story that everybody knows, David and Goliath. I mean, we all know the story, but the way you read it can change everything about its meaning. So if you're doing an illustrative reading, you see a timeless underdog story, right? The little guy takes on the powerful giant and wins. It's a great moral lesson about courage. But if you read it as a theodrama, the story isn't really about David's bravery at all. It's about a pivotal moment where God is acting through his chosen king to push his grand, redemptive plan for the whole nation forward. The focus completely shifts from the person to the plan. Now, let's apply that theodrama lens back to the Exodus story. When you look at it that way, the story becomes less about Israel's great escape and more about God's great restoration. As the scholar Ari Letter puts it, this isn't a story about people finding their own way back to God. It's the story of God actively going and getting them, bringing them back into his presence. And that really leaves us with a final question to chew on. Whether the Exodus happened in the 1400s or the 1200s BC, maybe the deeper challenge for us when we read these stories is to decide what we're actually looking for. Are we looking for stories about what people did, or are we trying to see the bigger story of what God was doing through them? Thanks for digging into all this with us.